This is the Cyber Operation and Risk Management Briefing by Team USA. I'm Wendy Barnes, and I will be giving this brief on behalf of Team USA. The Five Eyes Summit was just hit by a ransom attack. All information systems are on lockdown and are unable to access. A threat actor or a group is demanding payment of $500 and Bitcoin within 48 hours. Team USA must find out how the attackers were able to infiltrate the system and plant the malware. The Cyber Operation and Risk Management Briefing will cover the following topics: software assurance, the key attributes of software development lifecycle, the supply chain risks, software vulnerabilities, software recommendations, supply chain recommendations, cost considerations, and the contract language. Software insurance. Software insurance is the level of confidence that software is free from vulnerabilities, either intentionally designed into the software or accidentally inserted at any time during its life cycle, and that the software function is intended manner. Software assurance risk. We need to examine risks that could interrupt the functionality of the information systems. Some of the risks could include accidental design or implementation errors that leads to exploitable codes and vulnerabilities, changing the technological environment to expose new threats, vulnerabilities, and provide adversaries with new tools to exploit them, malicious insiders who seek to do harm to users or the vendors. Software assurance principle. And an effective software insurance assessment framework must address the customer's requirements to achieve a broad adoption. Some of the principles consist of attacks should be expected. Assurance requires effective coordination among all technology participants. Assurance should be well planned and dynamic. Means to measure and audit overall assurance should be built in. And the risk concerns should be aligned across all stakeholders and interconnect technology. Software assurance needs and expectations. Software must be tested before installation on any information system. Software needs to go through a white box or a black box test to ensure that there is no security weakness or vulnerabilities. The organizations need to be notified of any new discoveries of any vulnerabilities. And all software patches need to be available to the organization or users for updates. The key attributes of the software development lifecycle has 6 phases, which includes the planning, the analysis, the design, the implementation, the testing and integration, and the maintenance process. During the planning stage of the cycle, it is important to eliminate any unnecessary waste of memory during the coding process. During the analysis of the software, which includes testing and results process of the cycle, the design stage of the software lifecycle focus on the overall functionality of the software. It ensures that the software can accomplish its task that it is designed to do. The implementation is where the time of the cycle that the software is installed in the system and starts working as the integral system of the information technology system. The test and integration phase includes debugging. The debugging process, all the code flaws missed during the development are detected here. It's documented, it's passed back to the developer to fix. The testing process repeats until all critical issues are removed and software workflow is stabled. And finally, in the maintenance process, it ensures that the continuous commitment of the developer to the organization to include a timely patch of the system and training of the organization's employees on how the usage of the software works. We will now take a look at some of the software development methodology, just some of the models, not all of them, but we're going to look at the pros and the cons of the waterfall model, the agile software development model, and the spiral model. For the waterfall model, some of the pros are its long operational life expectancy. It meets users' needs and requirements. It is flexible. For the agile, it's responsible to change, accepting uncertainty, and its faster review in its life cycle and less upfront work for the customer. During the spiral model, risk factors are considered reduced. It's excellent for large and complex projects. Allows additional functionalities at a later time, and is suitable for higher risk projects with a varied business needs. Some of the negative downsides of these models include, for the waterfall, it's more on the expensive side to maintain, it's difficult to use and to customize, and it requires a lot of training for the staff. The agile lacks the understanding, the flexibility, and it can lead to bad behavior. And for the spiral module, cost model and software development is a failure and risk analysis phase, may damage the whole project or not appropriate for low risk projects. So Team USA decided that the waterfall model methodology is best suited for us. The waterfall model is a breakdown of the project's activities in linear sequential phases, which each phase depends on deliverables of the previous one, and it corresponds with the specialization of the task. The waterfall allows also for flexibility and comprehensive approach for a short-term project which Team USA would be conducting. Supply chain risks and challenges. Supply chain risk management is the process by which risks associated with acquisition and provisioning of components such as the hardware, software, and the infrastructure are regularly reviewed and addressed. Such efforts are applied to minimize the impact of risk on business operations and the security of the infrastructures and its data. When analyzing supply chain risks, it is important to start from the organization's known vulnerabilities. Cyber attack risks from untrained employees can be as dangerous as malware because it can cause serious damage to the systems. After identifying the risks, the threat needs to be reduced or eliminated to protect the organization's information systems and infrastructure. You need to develop a plan to mitigate the risk and to create a detailed strategy for minimizing the impact of any risk. Software vulnerabilities. A vulnerability is a weakness which can be exploited by a threat actor, such as an attacker, to perform unauthorized actions within a computer system. To exploit a vulnerability, an attacker must have at least one applicable tool or technique that can connect to the system weakness. Common software vulnerabilities consist of unpatched or outdated operating systems, weak IDS rules, unpatched or outdated software, unpatched web browsers, or weak access control measures. Software recommendations. To prevent and protect against security vulnerabilities, Team USA will ensure all security measures are in place for the information systems. We will implement the use of anti-ransomware and threat monitoring tools. We configure IDS and firewall rules to the highest security levels. We will update all patches and access control measures. We will train all staff on the usage of softwares. We will have quarterly maintenance of the softwares and quarterly analysis of the systems to review any new vulnerabilities. Supply chain recommendation. Concerning the supply chain options need to be specifically tailored for your organization. It must be compatible with the current operating system that's currently being used, must fulfill the organization needs, and it should be procured from a reliable vendor. You need to review and update the policies for consistent supply chain management to reduce supply chain risk by cyber attacks such as a ransomware. It is important to have a backup of all the organization software and data in a separate location. To have a sound transition from the attacked system to the backup, a business continuity plan needs to be developed for your organization. Cost considerations. As it is known that testing the software and fixing the bugs when the software is already being used in the market is a very costly process. So to reduce the cost, enhance the testing productivity, curb the consumption of the hours, optimization techniques are used. Software testing cost is very expensive, which is normally included in the total cost. By choosing the proper testing tool that use more open source testing, it can reduce the cost. We must consider the training costs as well. But by matching the software requirements with the employee skill set, we can save incurred training costs. But if the resource is not available within the organization, it's best to outsource the project. Outsourcing the project will help save testing costs. If the organization decides to opt in the 24-hour maintenance support, there will be a cost associated with the software tools. Contract language. A contract in this case is very important to ensure that the requirements remain within their agreed scope, and such the contract itself should be clear as day, using explicit terms of interaction that outline both the requirements and expectations from both the developer and the clients. It should contain a waiver or a sub-obligation rights to extent agreed upon. It should include liabilities, cap, limiting the amount of damages to be incurred, address issues or harms or loss of property and the data. Language should include both technical and legal jargon, understandable by all parties involved. And lastly, before signing any contract, the legal team needs to be involved to review the contract and its terms. In conclusion, security and software assurance is the top priority of the Five Eyes Nations during the summit because it's the main point of exploitation when it comes to cybersecurity. Team USA uses a trusted and secure software that integrates properly with the outside system to ensure communication in a safe way while maintaining the system's integrity. I covered today in the Cyber Operation and Risk Management Brief the software assurance, key attributes of software development lifecycle, the supply chain risks, software vulnerabilities, software recommendations, the supply chain recommendations, the cost challenges, and the contract language. If you have any questions, please let Team USA know. Thank you.